Welcome to Echoes of War, where we uncover the forgotten stories, the human suffering, and the hard lessons from history's most devastating conflicts. Today, we journey into one of the darkest chapters of the 20th century, a genocide so rapid and brutal that the world still struggles to comprehend it. In just 100 days, nearly 1 million innocent lives were wiped out in Rwanda as neighbor turned against neighbor in a storm of hatred and violence. This is the story of ordinary people caught in extraordinary evil. This is the story of courage in the face of terror. This is the story of a nation that rose from the ashes. I'm your host, and you're watching Echoes of War. Now, let us begin the harrowing story of the Rwanda Genocide. 100 Days of Horror. The Rwanda Genocide, 100 Days of Horror. In just 100 days in 1994, approximately 1 million people were slaughtered in one of the fastest and most brutal genocides in human history. This was not a war between armies, but a calculated extermination of an entire people. Neighbor killing neighbor, families destroyed, and rivers literally running red with blood. How did a peaceful country descend into such unimaginable savagery so quickly? What turned ordinary citizens into killers? In this documentary, we uncover the dark history, the horrifying events, and the painful legacy of the Rwandan genocide. Rwanda, known as the land of 1,000 hills, was once praised for its natural beauty and peaceful society. For centuries, the Hutu and Tutsi lived together, speaking the same language, sharing the same culture, and intermarrying. The differences between them were not originally ethnic, but more social and economic. Tutsi were traditionally cattle herders and often held higher status, while Hutu were mostly farmers. However, everything changed when European colonizers arrived. First the Germans, then the Belgians introduced racial theories and issued identity cards that classified people as Hutu, Tutsi, or TWA based largely on physical appearance. This artificial division planted the seeds of resentment that would later explode. After Rwanda gained independence from Belgium in 1962, the Hutu majority took power and began discriminating against the Tutsi minority. Thousands of Tutsi were killed in pogroms, and many more fled into exile in neighboring countries. For decades, Tutsi refugees lived in Uganda, where they eventually formed the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF. In 1990, the RPF invaded Rwanda, sparking a civil war. The conflict created fear and instability. Hutu extremists within the government began planning something far more sinister than war. They prepared lists of Tutsi targets, trained militias, and spread vicious propaganda claiming the Tutsi were planning to exterminate the Hutu. Tensions reached a breaking point on April 6, 1994, when President Juvenal Habyarimana's plane was shot down near Kigali Airport. Although it is still unclear who was responsible, Hutu extremists immediately blamed the Tutsi and the RPF. Within hours, a pre-planned campaign of extermination was unleashed. Roadblocks were set up across the country. Soldiers and Hutu militias, known as the Interahamwe, began systematically murdering Tutsi civilians. What followed was 100 days of pure horror that the world would never forget. The killing was not random. It was organized, methodical, and encouraged at the highest levels of government. Hutu extremists used radio stations, especially RTLM, to broadcast hate messages calling Tutsi cockroaches and urging ordinary Hutu citizens to kill their Tutsi neighbors. Cut the tall trees, they said. Entire families were dragged from their homes, hacked to death with machetes, burned alive, or drowned in rivers. Rape was used as a weapon of war. Women and girls suffered unimaginable brutality. In some churches where people sought refuge, thousands were massacred in a single day. The speed and scale of the killing was staggering. In just the first 2 weeks, hundreds of thousands were already dead. Entire villages were wiped out. People were killed at roadblocks, in schools, in hospitals, and even in places of worship. Friends turned on friends. Pastors betrayed their congregations. The genocide was so efficient that killers sometimes murdered up to 10,000 people per day. The bodies piled up so quickly that mass graves could not be dug fast enough. The rivers became so clogged with corpses that they changed color. While the genocide raged, the international community failed Rwanda completely. The United Nations had peacekeepers on the ground, but they were ordered not to intervene or protect civilians. When the killing began, most foreign troops were withdrawn, leaving Rwandans to face death alone. Powerful nations, including the United States, Belgium, and France, avoided using the word genocide because it would have legally required them to act. The world watched in real time as 1 million souls were erased, yet chose to do almost nothing. Inside Rwanda, however, there were also stories of incredible courage. Some Hutu risked their own lives to hide and protect Tutsi neighbors. Hotel manager Paul Rusesabagina sheltered over 1,000 refugees at the Hotel de Mille Collines. Ordinary priests, teachers, and farmers became heroes in the midst of hell. These acts of humanity stood in stark contrast to the surrounding darkness and proved that even in the worst conditions, goodness could still survive. By mid-May, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, led by Paul Kagame, began making major advances. As the RPF closed in on Kigali, the genocidal government ordered even more intense killing in a desperate attempt to finish the job. The final weeks of the genocide were some of the bloodiest. On July 4, 1994, the RPF captured Kigali, effectively ending the genocide after exactly 100 days. When the horror finally stopped, nearly 1 million Tutsi and moderate Hutu had been murdered, roughly 75% of Rwanda's Tutsi population. The aftermath was devastating. Rwanda was a nation in ruins. Millions were displaced, the economy had collapsed, and the social fabric was completely destroyed. Over 2 million Hutu fled into neighboring Congo, fearing revenge. The new government, led by the RPF, faced the nearly impossible task of rebuilding a country where the killers and victims had to learn to live together again. In the years that followed, Rwanda established the Gacaca courts, a traditional community justice system, to try over 1 million genocide suspects. While imperfect, it helped accelerate justice and truth-telling. The government also banned ethnic identity cards and promoted a new national identity. We are all Rwandans. Today, Rwanda has become one of the safest and fastest developing countries in Africa, though deep scars remain. The Rwandan genocide stands as a painful reminder of what happens when hatred is allowed to spread unchecked, when propaganda replaces truth, and when the international community chooses indifference. It exposed the failure of the United Nations and the concept of never again that was promised after the Holocaust. 100 days proved how quickly civilization can collapse into barbarism. Today, survivors continue to share their stories, so the world will never forget. Memorials across Rwanda, including the Kigali Genocide Memorial, serve as eternal reminders. Every year on April 7th, Rwanda observes a week of mourning. The genocide is taught in schools, and the country works hard to ensure such horror never happens again. The story of Rwanda is not only one of unimaginable suffering, it is also a story of resilience, forgiveness, and remarkable national rebirth. From the ashes of genocide, Rwanda has slowly risen, showing the world that even after the darkest chapter in its history, hope and healing are still possible. The Rwandan genocide reminds us that evil triumphs when good people remain silent. It challenges each of us to speak up against hatred and division wherever it appears, because the price of indifference is always paid in human lives. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you understand one of history's darkest events, please like, comment, and share it. Subscribe for more important history documentaries. Never forget Rwanda.